Fox Sports.
We are Fox Sports. We are San Diego.
We welcome you to the Mile High City, Denver, Colorado, on a warm day at Coors Field as we wrap up the three-game series between the San Diego Padres and the Colorado Rockies. Hector Sanchez back in the lineup for the Padres in this game tonight, and he has been red hot lately. Don Orsillo along with Mark Grant. Welcome to Padres baseball as the Padres have Carlos Azuaje at second base again today, and he's been red hot.
Yeah, to cause havoc for any ball club, especially on the road, you get first at-bats. You've got the leadoff hitter, Margot, and then Carlos Azuaje is really swinging the bat well. So if he gets on Margot, Carlos Azuaje can do so many things, especially in this ballpark. He hit for the extra base hit. But why is he doing so well since June 23rd? As you look at this, he's using the whole field. He's turning on the breaking ball when warranted. Hit his first home run the other night. Speaking of Hector Sanchez, he really liked it. And then also with the glove. So using the whole field and getting around the whole field with that glove. That's a nice little nugget right there by Azuaje. He's feeling very confident at the plate and playing defense as well.
Last year, John Gray had a historic game against the Padres. This year, not quite as good.
This guy's a horse. I mean, he goes out there and gives you innings. But John Gray's got to be healthy. You know, he's coming off the DL with a broken foot. September 17th of last year, yes, the strikeout. He goes right after hitters. Pretty much a two-pitch pitcher, fastball and a slider. Good first start after coming off the DL. The next two not so good because he did not have command of the fastball. The off-speed stuff was not there. Now, is it a result because of his foot? We'll have to wait and see. But opponents hitting .318, and Don, to win the third game of the series, I think they really got to get to John Gray early, and hopefully this is the reaction we see. Oh, hey now. So, you know, scratching your head, that's what you want the opposing pitcher to be doing right there in the dugout.
Padres trying to salvage the last game of this three-game series. When we come back, coming up, Heart and Hustle. We'll talk about the Padres nominee, Clayton Richard. We return after this.
out there, and the work ethic is off the charts.
Swing and a miss and an impressive fifth inning for Clayton Richard. Back-to-back Ks, both down by way of the K. Vandenberg is going to go to first for the out that gets Richard out of the inning. Going to be close, and they got him. It's a complete game for Clayton Richard.
Well, as was previously mentioned, the Heart and Hustle nominee for the Padres, Clayton Richard. He's done a fantastic job. Now, in case you're not familiar, the Heart and Hustle Award is nominated by the Alumni Association each year of Major League Baseball players. They vote one preliminary winner from each ball club. This year it's Clayton Richard for the Padres, and if there's any question whether he's deserving, well, let's hear what his teammates had to say.
He's the unquestioned leader of the team. He connects with everybody, he serves everybody, he leads everybody, and his preparation is second to none for his own craft, getting ready to pitch every 5 days. Tremendous leader, tremendous teammate, meant more to this organization than I think anybody will ever really know.
It's very easy coming in here as a rookie and having a guy like that. Basically, it's just a template of how I need to act at the field. So, I mean, couldn't ask for a better guy in the clubhouse and a more deserving guy for the award.
He's obviously one of our leaders. Works hard, leads by example. He's always in the weight room, always doing what he needs to do to prepare for a start. So great job, Clayton.
Well, you can see his teammates are certainly proud of him. He's certainly deserving. And in case you're wondering, it is very odd for a pitcher to get that award. In fact, Rick Porcello with the Red Sox is the only other nominee. Most often it goes to a position player, but because of his hard work and the great influence he has in this clubhouse, Clayton Richard, certainly the right choice. Keep hammering Hector. The Padres will look for Hector Sanchez to carry him. He has home runs in his last 3 ball games. He'll try to do it again today against John Gray. In the meantime, Clayton Richard will try to hold the Red Sox in the ballpark. Padres, Rockies, first pitch coming up next, right here on Fox Sports San Diego.
Presents Padres Baseball, brought to you by Honda. Great deals are waiting for you now at your local Honda dealer. By Petco, where the pets go. And by Papa John's Pizza, better ingredients, better pizza. Papa John's, proud partner of the San Diego Padres. Back in the Rockies and in Denver, it's game 3 of the 3-game series. A very warm afternoon here in Denver, to say the least. Wow. As we check out the weather report, brought to you by your always sunny San Diego Honda dealers. Temperature 96 degrees, northeast breeze, and it is slight. It's 6 miles per hour, and the forecast for lots of sunshine as the day goes on here today. Don Orsillo, Mark Grant, Bob Scanlon with you for the finale of this 3-game series, as the Padres will head to San Francisco after the game to get ready for a 4-game series against the Giants. John Gray and the Rockies taking the field today. The home whites today. We check out the visiting Padres starting lineup, brought to you by Toyota. For Andy Green, Manuel Margot at the top of the order, and in center field with Carlos Azuaje at second base. Will Myers at first, with Hector Sanchez doing the catching. Batting in the cleanup spot with Jabari Blash in right. Corey Spangenberg at third base with Franchi Cordero back in the big leagues. And in left field, Eric Ibar, the veteran shortstop, bats eighth. And Clayton Richard out of the 9th spot will bat 9th for the Padres and do the pitching. As you see, Jabari Blash getting ready, and on the mound today for the Rockies is John Gray.
Returned from the DL June 30th, broken foot, and this is his 7th start of the year. He's got a power arm, and the more and more we talk about the rotation for these Colorado Rockies, they've got some young guys, and this Oklahoma Sooner could be an anchor in that staff. Throws very, very hard. The punch out is the big thing. Pretty much fastball slider, 95 to 97 on that fastball for John Gray.
Now defensively behind John Gray, left to right of the outfield, Ian Desmond back in there. He started game 1, and he's starting game 3. Charlie Blackmon in center, Gerardo Parra in right. Third to first, Nolan Arenado, after having last night off, back in the lineup at third with Trevor Story at short, DJ LeMahieu at second, Mark Reynolds at first, and Ryan Hannigan catches the day game after the night game for the Rockies today and catches John Gray.
I'll tell you what, do you feel kind of for the catchers? I mean, to be a catcher at the big league level, any level, you really got to have it in your heart. You got to be that special type of player, right? Well, on a day like today when it's 96, Hector Sanchez, Ryan Hannigan, they say bring it on.
Well, the Padres have been pretty good offensively in this series, despite not having won a game yet in this series. In 2 games, a team hitting at .301 with 4 homers, 13 runs scored. Now, normally you would say if you had 13 runs in 2 games, you'd be in pretty good shape. Not the case. This is Coors Field, and the Rockies have taken the first 2 games of the series. As Manuel Margot stands in to lead it off here for the Padres. We had 40,000 here last night, 37 the night before. Looks like it's going to be a much smaller crowd here today for the finale. As the first pitch of the game from John Gray is going to miss for ball 1. 7th start of the year for Gray, coming in at 2-1 with a 6.23 earned run average. Not been the same type of season for him so far.
Yeah, last start versus the Mets, 2+ inning, 9 hits, 8 runs. It was written that John Gray then watched some video, said that his left foot wasn't properly lined up as he was almost stepping towards the left-hander's batter's box. So that's an adjustment, more towards home plate. Keep an eye on that landing foot today. Kind of, you know, and if you do that as a right-handed pitcher with your landing foot towards the left-handed box, you're going to open up. Arm's going to drag. Pitches aren't going to be as sharp, and there's the line against the Mets.
'13 first-round pick for Colorado, as you mentioned, out of the University of Oklahoma.
It's where the wind comes sweeping down the plane.
Spent time on the DL with a broken bone in his left foot. Check swing foul. Quickly ricocheting back. Full count here to Margot. 25-year-old. First time that he's been on the opening day roster in his career. Last year started the year on the DL also. Abdominal strain. That is ball 4 and a leadoff walk for Margot. Pretty good at bat right there. Start the day for the Padres.
Command of the fastball right out of the gate, an issue. That was the issue against the Mets. And when you can't do that, you try to throw the breaking ball. Maybe you hang a breaking ball, and that spells trouble.
Bud Black looking on here as his starting pitcher has walked the first batter of the day and brings up Carlos Azuaje. 315 the home run, 6 runs batted in. Azuaje, who had another big night last night, his first major league home run out of the way. Toss over to first base. Margot back to the bag. Azuaje hitting safely in 9 of his last 11 games and hitting at .341 during the last 11. Got a chance to play every day. Really settled in at second base for the Padres in the absence of Yangervis Solarte.
More reps, more snaps, right? Get to know the league, get to know the pitchers, comfort level, both sides. We mentioned him in our open with the bat and the glove.
Another throw over, and Margot back to the bag. Suaje, 5 for 10 in the series with a home run and 2 RBIs.
It's a 500 average, right?
Yes, it is. Very good. Sharp as a tack.
Sharp as a bowling ball.
Popped up this time. Shallow right. DJ LeMahieu ducking back to the short lawn and right. Battling the high sky, and he makes the catch for out number 1. Another guy with a home run last night. Will Myers got his 17th home run of the year. This one put the Padres on top at the time, 4-3 out to left center.
Yeah, that was a fastball middle in, missed with location. Hopefully that snaps Will Myers out of that little bit of a funk that he had the day before. Home run, a couple of walks yesterday.
17 home runs, 43 runs batted in, and first 90 games of the year for the Padres first baseman.
You know, we had a look over there at first base with Johnny Washington with Manuel Margot. Johnny Washington has that stopwatch, and what they'll do is they'll time the leg kick for the pitcher. Once he kicks that leg, and then when the ball gets to the plate, bang, they stop it. Get a time. Major League average pitcher to catcher is 135 to 140. So if he's above that, hey, it's time to go if you get a good jump.
Double play depth here for the Rockies in the infield as Myers with a swing and a miss.
Well, that's a big leg kick from Gray.
So you're saying kind of slow to the plate, though.
Yes. In fact, I think I'm going to try to do a little scouting right here. What's that leg is? Oh, quick snap move over to first. He might be smelling something. So as soon as that leg is lifted, I'm going to start my stopwatch, and when the ball hits the catcher's glove, stop it. See what it's at.
What's the average you said?
Average is 135 to 140.
It's going to be fun.
Can't wait. Oh.
Got him. Picked him off. It's close last time. This time he gets him. Well, Margot thinks he was back, and he's looking into the dugout to see if Andy Green is going to challenge this. Call on the field is out at first base. We'll get a look.
That was close. Very quick move from John Gray. I mean, the pivot in front of the pitcher's plate and then the quick snap throw is very, very key.
No challenge from the Padres. Picked off is Margot. 2 down here in the first inning.
It's one of the better right-handed moves that I've seen. Very quick and accurate throw.
So 2 down, and Myers with a count of 1-1. Looks a fly ball out to center field, where Charlie Blackmon now moves over a little bit towards left center with the glasses on, makes the catch. Padres gone in the first. The Rockies are coming up. do not score in the top of the first inning. Rockies coming up in the bottom of the first inning. And we'll check out the Rockies lineup for Bud Black, brought to you by Hyundai. Charlie Blackmon at the top of the order with his 13-game hitting streak in center field, with DJ LeMahieu at second base. Nolan Arenado at third base with Mark Reynolds at first. Ian Desmond in left with Gerardo Parra in right. Trevor Story at shortstop at seventh, with Ryan Hannigan doing the catching, batting eighth, and John Gray the pitcher out of the ninth spot, with Clayton Richard on the mound today for the Padres.
All right, it's time to bounce back for the left-hander. Good old number 3, Clayton Richard. Attack early, down early, and up late, because he can go up in the zone for the strikeout, but he's known for the ground ball. Major League Baseball's best 218 ground balls this season. Also, the ground ball, you think double play. He's forced 19 ground ball double plays this season, which leads the National League. And with the way the ball travels here, especially on a day game, keep the ball in the yard.
You know, Charlie Blackmon leading it off here. 13-game hitting streak we mentioned, and this guy is doing it all, hitting at .324 coming into today's game. Takes strike one. 22 homers, 65 runs batted in. Now, we talked about the hitting experience at Coors Field, but we've also talked a little bit about the difference it makes for pitchers pitching at Coors Field. I know you were a Rocky. Sinker, is it going to be affected at all?
I think so. I think every pitch is affected. That's why I like, you know, I've kind of gone back and forth as far as what type of pitcher I'd like to see here if I was like a general manager. I think you'd have to have an extreme sinker ball guy.
Shallow left, Cordero's not going to get there, and it drops fair. Make it a 14-game hitting streak for Charlie Blackmon. Not the hardest ball he'll hit all year, but that one drops in there down the left field line nicely for him.
Coors Field special, we mentioned it. With Charlie Blackmon, he's not your prototypical leadoff guy, right? He's not like a slap guy. He's got some pop to all field, so you have to respect that. And that's a long run, and that one dumps in there for a single. So getting back to my point, an extreme sinker ball like a Brandon Webb. I mean, he threw, Billy Swift, same type guy, right? Or the guy who throws upper 90s four-seamers and a good curveball. I think those guys can work it. But it all boils down to good pitches, right? Executing good pitches.
DJ LeMahieu will take ball one from Richard. Well, the batting title last year, hitting at .312 this year after a slow start. Has really turned it on over the last month plus, and got it up to .312. 4 homers, 43 runs batted in. Everyday second baseman for the Rockies.
Well, we mentioned the double play balls. He's forced 19 ground ball double plays this year, Clayton Richard, and here's a double play guy. He's grounded into 11, DJ LeMahieu. And look at that gap to center field, Donald. The outfielders are playing the gaps.
How about the gap to left? Down the left field line.
That's incredible.
If he pulls it.
That is incredible. I don't think I've ever seen anything like that.
He's more than 100 feet away from the line.
Oh.
And the reason we know that is because it's 90 feet from third to second, and he's beyond that.
Yeah, 90 feet from here, right?
Yeah, he's past that.
So if he's over here, I mean, that's an $8 Uber ride from the foul line to where he's playing.
They moved a little bit down to the left, but not much. Charlie Blackmon gaining his lead again at first base. Always a threat to take off. Richard will check on him and diving back safely. Mayhew against left-handed pitchers, sitting at .394. Fourth highest average against lefties in the majors. 8 out of 14 this year for Blackmon.
Don, I'm still amazed as I sit here and look at that outfield defense. That's one of the most incredible defensive alignments I've seen.
How about Margot? Basically in right field.
Yes. And
Blash on the line.
Yes, Blash is, wow.
Ball 4. Down to first base goes LeMahieu. Single and a walk to start this bottom of the first inning. It's time now to check out the Padres defensively. Brought to you by Lincoln. Franchi Cordero's in left. Manuel Margot in center. Jabari Blash in right. Corey Spangenberg at third base with Eric Ibar at short. Carlos Aswaje at second base. Will Myers at first, and Hector Sanchez doing the catching for Clayton Richard. Single and a walk, and Nolan Arenado back in the lineup today for the Rockies. Had last night off. They were able to grab the win, but there were a couple plays he would have made at third base that were not made last night.
Thought the Padres were going to take advantage of plays just like that without Arenado in the lineup. I mean, the plays we saw last night that weren't made, those are made in his sleep, aren't they?
Pretty much. Amarista had started the game at third, then Valleca took over. Pickoff play at second, no throw. But Blackman gets his way back to the bag with Aswaje cheating in. On the ground is short by Ibar into left center field. Blackman coming around to score the game's first run. Rockies will lead it 1-0. DJ LeMahieu gets to third on the RBI single by Arenado. Colorado on top 1-0.
Well, he hit it pretty hard. It's a two-hopper. And does this ball go under the glove of Ibar? I mean, he's not going to hold anything back, Arenado. And that ball looks like it just goes right out of the reach of Ibar, playing in double play depth.
First and third, a run in, nobody out. Mark Reynolds coming up.
You know, Clayton Richard would be the first one to tell you, I can't walk that guy, right? I cannot walk LeMahieu to force Blackman to second base and put him in scoring position.
Reynolds getting his 20th home run in this series, 66 RBIs on the year. Pretty much playing every day now at first base for the Rockies. And this will get away. From third base comes LeMahieu, 2-0 Colorado. Arenado up to second base. Not sure what happened there. Just kind of clanked off Hector Sanchez and by him.
I thought that was a very catchable pitch. As we take a look, here it is. Oh yeah, he just boxed it. Yep. Pass ball. That hurts. Even Hector upset with himself there, clearly.
Arenado at second base, 2 runs in. On the ground towards Aswaje. He will go to first base for the out as Arenado takes third. So 1 down here in the inning. Let's take a look at the keys to the game, brought to you by your San Diego Honda dealers.
Roll with Richard. What I mean by that roll, rolling the ground balls, that's his key to be successful. We talked about the ground ball rate, and also bad day for Gray. He had a 1-2-3 inning after the walk. The pickoff certainly helped the right-hander. And if you can get out of this inning, now they're going to draw the infield in with just 1 run, or 2 runs rather. Check that, 2 runs. Take your chances that way.
And Desmond down and in, and Sanchez blocks this. Desmond started game 1, starting game 3. 289, 5 homers, 29 runs batted in the first 60 games of the year for Desmond. But you're trying to minimize the damage here in this first inning. In the air to right center field. Manuel Margot getting himself set, will make the catch. Tagging at third is Arenado. The throw not close. And the Rockies take a 3-0 lead. Sac fly for Ian Desmond. So a 3 spot here so far in the bottom of the first inning for the Rockies. Brings up Gerardo Parra as the Padres will employ a shift on the right side of the infield. Base is empty now. .52 on the year for Parra. 8 homers and 40 runs batted in. Line to left and in for a base hit in front of Cordero. Gerardo Parra with a ringing single to left field.
Could this guy get any hotter?
It's unbelievable. He's been driving runs in too. He scored a run in, or driven in a run in 8 straight games. Longest streak right now in Major League Baseball.
Now 6 for 8 in the series. That's just good hitting right there. Hips before hands. Foot is down, hands are back, slapping it that way.
7th member of the Rockies to come up here in the bottom of the first inning. Trevor Story, the shortstop for the Rockies. A lot of strikeouts, 109 on the year, tied for 3rd most in the National League getting into today's action. He was 0 for 4 in last night's game, struck out 4 times.
So what's that? That's the hat trick, then the what? 4 times is what?
I forget.
Is it silver sombrero or?
Don't
I thought it went silver, golden. 5 is golden. 6 is AAA.
It's not good, I know that.
I mean, there's different versions, and I know people watching out there have their own. And I've always thought it was the hat trick, right? 3.
Sure.
Silver sombrero, golden sombrero for 5.
It's a lot of strikeouts.
Hey, let me know what you think out there.
Parra with a short lead at first, 2 down. 1-1. Is line and caught by Ibar. Now that'll end the inning, but the Rockies scored 3 times in the first, take a 3-0 lead. Hector Sanchez, 3 home runs, the walk-off against the Giants on Saturday night at Petco Park. He followed it up the next day, first inning, with a 3-run home run. And then in the first game of this series, Sanchez going the other way. 3 home runs in the last 3 games started for Sanchez, and Hector back in the lineup today. 6 home runs on the year for the Padres catcher. 3-0 Rockies on top. And Sanchez will take strike 1 from John Gray. At least 1 home run in each of his last 3 games. Last Padre to do that, Alex Dickerson, in July of last year. Greg Nettles with the overall record, 6 straight games with a home run.
That guy could hit and field a little bit, Greg Nettles.
Yeah, he could. Fights out off the thumbs right there, running in on him. Sanchez, Blash, and Spangenberg expected here in the second inning. They're shifting on Sanchez here on the right side.
There you see the shift and a breaky ball right there. We just saw that. Is a pitch that in the zone Hector Sanchez can turn on and do some damage, but it was down in the zone, not a strike if taken. Now he's got to really protect, choking up on that shillelagh.
Elevates at 95, and not chasing is Sanchez.
Got to hydrate today, huh?
Absolutely. Be upwards to 98 degrees today. I think he went around. He did. Rung up by home plate umpire Ben May. First strikeout for John Gray.
Looks like the slider down and in. Hector's got to protect if taking a ball inside, but still with 2 strikes, too close to take, and he most definitely went.
So 1 down here in the second inning brings up Jabari Blash. Take strike 1. 3 for 3 in the ball game last night with an RBI and a walk. 5-game hitting streak. He's hitting all the games since returning from El Paso. And 3 homers, 8 RBIs. 19 games this year with the Padres, and getting his arms out of the way. Taking ball 1. Multiple hit performances in 3 of the last 5 games for him. Get the impression that Jabari does better when he has a chance to play every day.
Sure.
And not come off the bench. We saw him come off the bench a bunch early, and that didn't work out too well timing wise.
That's tough. I mean, I think it takes a special player to fill that role. You've got to accept it, first of all, to where, okay, I'm going to spell this guy maybe a day game after a night game. I'm going to play maybe 2 times a week. It takes a special individual to do that. The right mindset. How close was this last one? 96. Oh, boy, that looks like a strike, huh?
Right in the corner. Blash will take a walk and head on down to first base. So 1 out walk, second walk allowed by John Gray today. He's not happy about it. He thought he had the strike. So 1 out, 1 on, and Corey Spangenberg coming up. 258, 6 homers, 23 runs batted in for the Padres third baseman. Rockies at double play depth with 1 out. To center field, Blackman is going to be right where he needed to be in center to make the grab out there for out number 2. Let's send it down to Scan.
Well, thanks, Don. The Padres making a roster move today. Jose Valdez getting sent down back to the AAA. He did a nice job in his inning of work yesterday. Getting activated, Franchi Cordero. He was with the ball club yesterday, took some batting practice. When he got sent down, Andy Green said, look, we want him to get back on track. As you recall, he hit safely in 13 of his 19 ball games, including 3 home runs, but then he went 0 for 24 with 17 strikeouts. So they just want to see him getting the ball back in play. He was doing that in AAA. They hope it carries over back now in the big leagues.
Next scan as coming up here is Franchi Cordero, just back and grounding one to second base. LeMahieu, the first for the out. That ends the inning. Gray works his way around to walk in the inning. Rockies lead it 3-0. Brought to you by T-Mobile, and the Yankees, a big deal. They get Todd Frazier, David Robertson, and Tommy Kahnle from the White Sox for Tyler Clippard and 3 minor leaguers to bolster their pen. Moncada moving up for the White Sox after all those moves. They needed to bring some guys up, and Yohan Moncada moving up. And Cameron Maybin placed on the 10-day DL with MCL spraying out 2 to 4 weeks for the Angels. So that's a big loss for Los Angeles.
Looks like the Yankee bullpen going on strike, huh?
Wow.
Strikeouts. You've got some live arms in that pen.
Ryan Hennigan grounding one foul to begin things here in the bottom of the second inning. And they get Robertson back, a guy who was closing games for the Yankees at one point. Those are the White Sox, and now back in New York. Dylan Betances, of course, you put him in the pen as well. Chapman, I mean, it's pretty impressive.
Yeah. Tell you what, it takes a lot of pressure off the starting rotation, don't you think?
To short, Ibar will throw out Hannigan. So one down in the second inning, and strikeouts per 9 innings. Betances, Kahnle, who is a former Rocky, part of that deal. Already had Chapman, Robertson returning to the Yankees, and Chad Green in there. That's where they rank as far as strikeouts per 9 innings for relievers. That's pretty good.
Remember Tommy Kahnle with the Rockies, the brief time that he was here. I liked his arm, and the numbers prove that with the 15 strikeouts per 9 innings. Wow.
Well, John Gray batting here, the pitcher from the 9 spot. The Yankees are trailing today 6-1 to the Minnesota Twins. Playing day baseball at Target Field in Minneapolis. John Gray in his 3rd season, and 116 hitter, and this year 1 for 11 at the plate. Well, the Yankees getting better. They are 3.5 games back of the Red Sox, with Tampa Bay in between beginning today's action.
Well, that bullpen, like we just mentioned, is going to definitely help the Yankees. Are they going to be able to score some runs and then nail it down going to that bullpen? Like I said, I mean, if you're in the rotation for the Yankees, yeah, you want to go 9, you want to go deep. But hey, I think if I'm a starter and I just need to give 6 innings, yeah, that's not your mindset. But if that's the worst case scenario, turn it over to that pen.
Spangenberg throws out Gray. A lot of people thought with the need that the Red Sox have at third base that Frazier was headed there. And Brian Cashman kind of jumps the gun and gets it ahead of the Red Sox because it appeared that's where he was going with Pablo Sandoval designated for assignment.
Gone.
It's a real need that they have as a third baseman, and now the question is what do the Red Sox do in that regard? Tampa Bay is a surprise to me. They played some good baseball under Kevin Cash.
Only 2 games out going into today's game. 7-3 their last 10.
Charlie Blackmon with a base hit his first time up has extended that hitting streak to 14 games now. Singled, scored, part of a 3-run first for the Rockies. Richard with 2 ground ball outs here in the second inning.
Oh, hopefully second time around, a little different story for Clayton Richard. 3 out of 10. First pitch strikes for the left-hander. And Clayton would be the first one to tell you, I need to get ahead, strike 1.
Head here, 1-2.
Slider away. Hector wants it down in the dirt.
Line foul off to the left, out of play. Foul tipped and Sanchez can't hold on to it. Chance here for Charlie Blackmon. No strikeouts yet for Clayton Richard.
Speaking of rules, just that last play, right? The foul tip off the glove.
Yep.
Okay, hits the glove, goes up in the air, off his mask. He can catch it for the out. But if it initially goes off his mask, chest protector, and then he catches it, no catch. It's a foul ball. And Blackmon, this one gets away from him.
Yeah, hit with the pitch. So Blackmon on for the second time today. Single in the first, and this one up and in on him, gets him. Tricep area.
Yep. As I mentioned in the scouting report for Clayton Richard, that's one of the keys for him. He will go up the ladder. That one just kind of got away from him a little bit. Trying to go up the ladder for the swing and miss.
So 2 outs, runner at first, and a check over there on Blackmon. Back to the bag. DJ LeMahieu, the batter for Colorado. Walked and scored in the first inning. This is the middle of June. LeMahieu hitting at .411 with a .489 slugging percentage. Well, we were here last time. He was really struggling coming off his batting title season for the Rockies. Winning the batting title in the National League last year. He's had to do a lot of work to get that batting average up to the .312 that it was to start the day today. And he's playing every day. Corralled by Sanchez. Rockies got 3 in the first and enjoy a 3-0 lead with 2 outs here in the bottom of the second inning. Throw over and almost threw it away. Fancy footwork there by Myers to get that. To step around the runner, diving back, and Charlie Blackmon.
Tried to go with the backdoor slider right there.
Grabs the corner, and it's 2-1. Fastball away that time. That's where Richard wanted to go. 2 outs. Nolan Arenado waiting on deck here for Colorado. Looks like they're going to try to come in. Three and one.
Well, the home plate umpire, Ben May, today, looks like he's been a little liberal off that plate, a little bit on the outside corner to righties.
On the ground, left side, and through into left field. Base hit for LeMahieu, who's on for the second time today. Blackman takes second base. Rockies have 2 on with 2 outs.
Well, that's the frustrating thing, because it's a 5-6 hopper through the infield, right at the shortstop area. But with the way that Ibar was playing, he was shading over towards second base. Clayton Richard got his ground ball. DJ LeMahieu just happens to beat the shift.
th pitch coming up here of the inning for Clayton Richard. After he got 2 relatively quick outs in Hannigan and Gray. And a lot more work since. And here's Nolan Arenado now. Down and in, blocked nicely by Sanchez to his left. Got the 2 outs, but then he hits Charlie Blackman. Allows the single to left by LeMahieu. 2 on, 2 down. The RBI leaders, updated numbers. Nelson Cruz and Nolan Arenado tied in Major League Baseball. 74 RBIs on the year. Bryce Harper, Paul Goldschmidt, and Daniel Murphy rounding out the top 5. On the ground up the middle, and speaking of RBIs, we'll see here if they're going to send Blackman. They do. Bobble and centered by Margot, and the Rockies will take a 4-0 lead. They grab this run with 2 outs here in the second inning.
Well, the thing that really hurts about this inning, and Don, you just mentioned it, the 2 quick outs, and then Charlie Blackman hit with a 1-2 count with 2 strikes, and the Rockies adding on with a ground ball to the left side from LeMahieu and a ground ball up the middle from Arenado. You know, they were playing DJ LeMahieu the opposite way. They were playing Arenado to pull, and both those Rocky hitters find the ground ball through the hole.
Mark Reynolds getting his second look at Clayton Richard today. 2 outs and runners in scoring position, a .382 average. He's got 20 home runs on the year, 66 runs driven in. Finds himself down 0-2.
I think if Clayton could find a feel for that slider, he threw a nice one there to get ahead 0-2. But still, he's getting grounders, just finding a little hole there.
Reynolds strikes out to end the inning. First strikeout for Clayton Richard of the day. Rockies had a run through 2, 4-0 Colorado. third inning of today's game as the Rockies have a 4-0 advantage over the Padres. 3 in the first, 1 in the second. John Gray has not allowed a run through the first 2 innings. This will be the 25th pitch of his outing. 8, 9, and 1 for the Padres expected. Eric Ibar leading it off. Ibar, Richard, and Margot.
We know how quickly a 4-run lead can evaporate, especially in this ballpark, so you got to keep battling with each at bat. Try not to do it yourself. Mentioned that many times as well. Hey, it would be great to lead off with a double or a home run right here, but hey, a walk would do just fine. Get some base runners, get some traffic on those base paths.
To second, a tough hop, but it's picked by LeMahieu on the outfield grass. Nice play. We'll talk about what he does offensively, winning the batting title, but nice play there by LeMahieu. He had that short hop that ends up coming up to him in short right field.
You know, Don, how we talk about infielders charging baseballs, but also that instinct, it comes with years of practice. But sometimes you got to back up on a baseball to get that bigger hop, and it looks like that's exactly the way DJ LeMahieu read that one.
So 1 down for Clayton Richard. He's had 33 at bats this year, 4 for 33. 21 average, no homers, 2 runs batted in, and 9 years in the big leagues, 116.
I think it'd be sweet for him to hit a home run today. Squints.
Padres nominee for Heart and Hustle Award.
No argument here.
Nope. Drives this out towards right center field, and that's going to get down. One hops the wall. Richard headed for second base as Parra's back to get it. A 1-out double for Clayton Richard.
Hey, swing hard. You might hit it. 2-seamer over the heart of the plate. Great extension from Clayton Richard. Great follow through too. See that follow through? What in Charlie Lau is going on? He's working the snorkel. That's what Bruce Hurst used to call it. Remember Rich Gedman?
Yeah.
Red Sox catcher. Remember his follow through?
That was from the Walt Riniak from Charlie Lau.
Called it the snorkel.
Pitch in there for a strike to Margot. Well walked in the first one of 2 walks allowed by John Gray. John Gray coming in 2-1, high earned run average 6.23.
I thought Clayton was going to go into the Aviary out there in right center field.
The Aviary?
Aviary. Thanks, Shakespeare.
0-2 pitch coming up. That's outside. 1-2. 185 strikeouts last year for John Gray. 16 strikeouts in a complete game win September the 17th against the San Diego Padres. And what was an historic game here in Colorado. It was originally a Royals 13th round pick, but did not sign. Lined and caught second base by LeMahieu. Little elevation from LeMahieu. It's a very good defense from LeMahieu here in the inning.
Well, LeMahieu timing that ground ball going back on the short hop makes the play, and timing this line drive perfectly, taking away. I tell you what, that ball hit so hard that's splitting the gap. That's going to be extra bases. Nice play by the Gold Glover.
So 2 down. Carlos Zwahe coming up. Zwahe Popped out to second base. His counterpart, DJ LeMahieu, in the first inning. Only hit off John Gray belongs to the Padres pitcher, Clayton Richard, who has doubled here in the third inning. Swahe 5 for 13. There is Richard in scoring position with 2 down. Kind of surrounded the plate, but not a strike. Seventh start of the year for Gray. Last year, his first full season in the major leagues. Finished up 10-10 with a 4.61 earned run average. Set the Rockies rookie single season record with that 185 Ks for him last year. Strike 2 evens up at 2-2 now.
Trying to keep everything away from Swahe. And we know that Carlos can spank that ball the other way. And with that said, in left field, Ian Desmond kind of more towards that left field line than that gap out in left field.
Swahe strikes out. Second strikeout for Gray. 4-0 Rockies.
Opening day at Del Mar right now. I'm going to say the name of some famous horses, and I want you to tell us which Padre player would most represent that. You ready to roll?
Sure.
Okay, we got Real Quiet.
Real Quiet would probably be Kirby Yates. Honestly, I haven't spoken much to him, and I don't think he talks too much in the locker room.
Unbridled.
Unbridled, Young Hervis Solarte. He's very outgoing.
And the last one, Always Dreaming.
Always Dreaming. You know, probably Hunter Renfroe. I mean, he's always coming up with hypothetical situations, which are awesome.
So there you have it. Opening day, Del Mar special day. And we will hear from Michelle Margot, who is there later on in the game, will join us.
Love hearing from Lil Sweet out there at second base. Sweet one. What horse would you be? What's a big fat horse out there? That
Why do you have to be so mean? I mean, really? And do you not have mirrors in your house?
Yeah, they're really wide.
Desmond leading it off here in the third. He'll ground one towards Aswahe. One down here in the third inning. Brings up Gerardo Parra.
You've been out to Del. You've been out to Del Mar?
No, I have not had the chance to. Tell me about it.
It's fun. It's a great. It's where the surf meets the turf. Or is it the other way around?
Turf meets the surf.
Yeah. It's one or the other.
Gerardo Parra singled to left field in the first inning. Now the Rockies are not broadcasting this game today on television, so the Rockies fan base getting a chance to learn the game from Mark Grant. This is on the ground. Left side into left field. A base hit for Parra. He's 2 for 2 in the ball game.
You know, he's been so hot before going on the DL. Didn't skip a beat, and you can just see the reaction right there, right? When you're swinging the bat well, you're going to find these hits. You're going to find those holes. It's off the end of the bat for the base knock to left field. That's when you know you're swinging the bat really well. And Clayton Richard has made some good pitches today. The Rockies have just found some holes.
And behind 4 of 15 first pitch strikes.
And that's a big key as well.
1 out, 1 on. Trevor Story lined out to his counterpart at shortstop. Catch made by Eric Ibar back in the first inning. Now fly ball headed out towards center field and deep. Margot is well over into right center, and he won't get this. One hops the wall. Parra from first base trying to come around and score. He will. It is an RBI triple for Trevor Story, and it's a 5-0 Rockies lead.
I was at the edge of my chair on this one because I really thought Manuel Margot was going to get to this baseball just out of his reach, and granted, he had a long way to run. He gave it a great effort, and with all that real estate out there, he scored easily from first base. And Parra, and a lot of triples here in this ballpark just because of that.
Now that time the shift worked against the Padres because Margot was well into right center field. Infield in now for the Padres with 1 out in the inning. Story at third base and Ryan Hanigan the batter. Hanigan made his Rockies debut when the Rockies were at Petco Park in San Diego. Takes a pitch inside. Tony Walters started the first 2 games of this series. So yeah, Rockies fans getting a chance to take it all in, all that is Mark Grant today.
Oh, and Don Orsillo.
No. They really get all that's Mark Grant today.
Well, we welcome the Rocky viewers. It's a fine city. Love coming to Denver.
Love Denver.
Glad that it's in the NL West. Been drawing very well for the Rockies here in Colorado.
37,000 the first night, 40,000 last night. Smaller crowd here today with day baseball during the week.
Very friendly fan base.
Very friendly.
Nothing but smiles and handshakes and how you doings when we come here to Coors Field.
In there for a strike, and it's 2-1. Of course, the Rockies and Padres in 2007, the 1-game playoff,
which you did
have a chance to do right here. It was fun. Not so much for Padres fans.
Yeah.
Foul back to the screen, 2-2.
You know a little bit about Ryan Hanigan. What kind of a player person is he?
He is a very good backup catcher.
Yeah.
That's the way I put it. And he is a good clubhouse guy. Pretty tough guy.
And he accepts his role. That's a big key, right?
Moved around a lot as a kid. His dad was an FBI agent. Wow. Yeah. Foul back the screen. 2-2.
He falls under the category. He's a gamer.
Tough kid.
Yeah.
Story at third, infield in, a run already in for the Rockies. They've scored in every inning so far. 3 in the first, 1 in the second, 1 so far here in the third. And a grounder by the brought in infield, and Ibar. From third comes Story with the 6th Rockies run, and Colorado on top 6-0.
Well, that's the chance you take when you bring the infield in. Cuts down the range. Another ground ball that finds the hole and just out of the reach of Eric Ibar. It's worth another look. You see Ryan Hannigan reaching for that one. It was down and away and just out of the reach of the Padres shortstop.
So 6-0 Rockies with 1 out. Hannigan at first and John Gray, the pitcher, getting his second plate appearance. Bunts it foul for strike 1. First round pick by the Rockies in 2013. 10 wins in the big leagues last year pitching. And here he is again for his second full season in the big leagues.
Very shallow in center field for Manuel Margot.
Pulls it back again, and it's 2-1.
I was just looking at the schedule, Don, and the next off day for the Padres, July 31st. I mean, it's a ways, right?
Yeah.
So now that's when Andy Green, you start looking at Clayton Richard. He's only at 56 pitches right now, but still, is this a situation where, I got to leave him out there for a couple more innings? You save an inning here or there in that bullpen. You don't want to use it too much because after the Rockies, you got San Francisco for 4 and then no off day at home until August 31st.
Pretty long stretch here to start the unofficial second half after the break.
And we know that Clayton Richard, this guy's a horse. He's a bulldog out there.
Swing and a miss, and striking out is John Gray. Second strikeout for Richard. 2 down.
One of baseball's most heated rivalries comes to FS1. The Texas Rangers take on the Rays. Major League Baseball Saturday at 3 Pacific on FS1.
Ryan Hannigan at first base, 2 down in the third inning, and brings up Charlie Blackmon. Blackmon with a single in the first, hit by a pitch in the second, has scored 2 runs already. Big cut there, has him down 0-2. Fastball by him.
If you had a chance to grow the moss and beard of Charlie Blackmon, would you do it?
I don't know about the beard. I think the moss, yes.
Because then you could have a man bun, right?
Yes, that's what I want.
I think a man bun would be pretty cool.
I want one, but where I need the hair to be, I don't have much hair.
Yeah.
In fact, I have like no hair.
Right.
Where you would wear the man bun, I don't have any hair. So if I gather some other hair from some other places and then push it together and then wrap it up, I guess I could do it. But I may go with a fake one, like a man bun toupee.
That'd be funny.
Yeah. They have those, right? I don't know.
I would think so.
1-2 fouled back.
If I had a choice of hairstyles, oh, look at Kid Rock in the house. I would go, you know what? I would go straight 80s Pat Riley look. I would love to slick it back one length. I think that's a cool look.
I want the Italian bob. You know what I'm saying? Like the bob haircut.
Right.
Yeah. I want to come into spring training one year with plugs. You're not even going to recognize me. I'm thinking about it. I'm just going to roll into Peoria in like late February, and there I am with my Italian bob haircut.
I'm going to go straight hair hat.
You are.
Just
stoop it up?
Yeah, just Velcro. Just
line foul outside of first. So I would wear a toupee for a while, at least for an open.
Oh, I would too. Why not? I think it'd be a good look. Something real subtle.
Yeah, be nice.
Nothing really like overbearing. Just enough to give it a little look. Remember my dad, like when I was growing up, had the comb over.
Yeah.
Like when he got in the pool, his hair would go like 18 inches down here, and he'd have to do that. I love you, Dad. Yeah.
I want a man bun. I want a man bun.
Man bun would be fun.
I want a man bun. Popped up, foul off third. Spangenberg racing over, but he won't have a play. Off the top of the dugout. Jumps back up into the seats.
Oh, there's some dreads.
Wow. Not much going on top there, though.
I like the glasses.
Interesting. A little warm here today. A little fireside chat. 1-2. And that is foul. Ooh, very close to being fair.
Hector Sanchez doing a nice job, like a puma, like a cat, El Gato. And this will give us a good look. It's where the ball is touched, okay? Ooh. You know what? Yeah, that ball is rolling. Oh, you can't tell from that angle. Hector's blocking it. Hector was blocking it. But a great effort.
Blooped to shallow right center, and that's going to fall.
Wow.
Hannigan takes second. Blackman aboard for his third time today. Second hit.
You know, it seems to be a common theme here, even when the Rockies are taking half hacks at it off the end of the bat. But you know what, though? It works both ways. It could happen for the Padres. It's definitely happening for the Rockies this afternoon. It's just one of those games. And Blackman has to reach for that one. A pretty darn good hitter. And as I mentioned, like Parra, Blackman, and you're swinging the bat well. You see the shift for Margot trying to deke the runner there, but that one falls in cleanly. Got to keep battling. And Clayton Richard is just that guy to do just that.
Well, Darren Balzer, the pitching coach, out there to talk to Clayton Richard. Padres having a tough time getting Charlie Blackman out. 6 for 10 in the series. DJ LeMahieu aboard twice today and walk and a single. Fouled off to the right, out of play.
That was the 25th pitch this inning for Clayton Richard. And I tell you what, folks, I mean, on a regular day, regular climate, that's a workout. But in these conditions today, this elevation and being 96 degrees at first pitch, that's a workout.
97 now. Oof. Heating up. Down and in and almost hitting LeMahieu. Straightened him up.
Good time for a fire.
It's toasty. Even in the booth, it's toasty. I find it very relaxing when you decide to bring your fireplace with you into the booth. This ground ball to shortstop. Ibar will go to second base for the force out that will end the inning. It's warm here.
Always fun to see the hats. What if there's any hair hats out there today at Del Mar?
Will Myers about to lead it off here in the fourth inning. 6-0 Rockies. 3 in the first, 1 in the second, 2 in the third. Myers' second look at John Gray. 0 for 1 today, flying out to center field in the first inning. "21 games here at Coors Field, .349 average, 7 homers, 20 runs batted in."
John Gray has got to stick to his game plan, right? 6-0 lead. Room for mistakes. If you're going to give up a long ball, you would prefer solo shots, but I don't think he's in a position to where he's going to be nibbling. I think he's going to be sticking to his strength, which is the fastball and slider.
Drive to right field, sending Parra back at the wall, and it's off the wall. Parra plays the carom quickly and fires back in. Long single for Will Myers off the scoreboard in right field.
Four-seamer going right after him. And we know the strength of Will Myers going the opposite way. But I think he's got to be on second base on this one.
So Myers at first base with nobody out here in the fourth inning. Second Padres hit of the day. And Clayton Richard had the first one. Now Myers with the second. And here's Hector Sanchez. Takes a pitch down and in. Struck out swinging in the second inning. One of 2 Ks for John Gray in this game.
In games like this, you know, I always think about deficits, overcoming deficits. We're on it right now. Largest deficits.
Through the right side into right field, a base hit. Myers trying to go first to third. Throw from right field, and Parra is going to be high and takes Arenado off the bag.
And this is exactly how it starts. A hit here, a hit there, first and third action. Two-seam fastball down, misses with location, too much of the plate. Largest comeback at Coors Field. Go back to 2008, July 4th, in fact. Rockies were down 13-4 to Florida. They end up winning 18-17. Also 9 runs back in 2010. Colorado was down 10-1. They came back and won 12-10.
First and third, nobody out. And Jabari Blash, the batter.
A home run here cuts the lead in half. I like that math.
Five-game hitting streak for Jabari. All the games he's been in since joining the Padres, moving up from AAA El Paso. Day baseball in Denver, the finale of this 3-game series between the Padres and the Rockies. One to Blash. 1-2, fastball kind of running away. Singled off the wall and right to begin the inning. Sanchez with a single to right field, first and third.
Breaking ball.
And Blash takes it the other way, but foul.
A little slider.
Closed captioning for today's game is brought to you by Wiener Schnitzel. Broke his bat on that foul ball down the right field line.
If I'm talking to my catcher right there, I'm thinking slider down and away, but I'm not going to throw him a fastball for a strike because you know the damage that Blash can cause on a fastball for a strike. So maybe down and away with a slider, or up and out of the zone with a fastball.
Fouled off to the right, out of play.
Tried to bury the heater.
96 on the gas. Blash now, Spangenberg next. Nobody out here in the 4th inning.
Good layoff there. He's not biting.
Myers at third. Sanchez across the diamond at first with nobody out here in the Padres' fourth inning. Popped up, foul ground. That'll get back into the seats.
He got a hanger right there. Let's take another look on this hanging breaking ball. Little cut fastball looks like. In. Did you see that ball out of his hand there? It wasn't a true slider, and it wasn't like a true four-seamer. It kind of cut that ball a little bit.
Fouled off. You're going to show us how it's done. How he did it.
Cut fastball?
Yeah.
Sure, we could do that. Cut fat like a true four-seam fastball is like that, and it comes out true that way. Well, a cut fastball kind of offset a little bit. See how there's more baseball here than here?
Yeah.
And stay on those. What I like to do is my pads and my fingers on the seam here, and just kind of cut the fastball in half on the outer half there to get that rotation that way, rather than a true slider or a curveball. So it's just a little cut that way. The ball kind of moves on the same plane.
Those sunglasses prescription?
They are.
So they get darker like when you need the sun?
They're bifocals, and they.
Flash strikes out looking, does not agree. That's strikeout number 3 for John Gray.
Hey, disregard how the ball was caught by Hannigan. Fox Tracks has it at a strike on the inside corner.
One out, first and third, and it brings up Corey Spangenberg. Corey flied out to center field in the second inning.
Yes, these glasses are subscription.
Subscription or prescription?
Yeah. And they get dark in the sun, and they're bifocals too. They're progressive.
I was wondering
and
because
the transition.
earlier it was clear.
Yeah.
And now they're dark. They're like tinted.
It's because of the sunlight.
Oh. First and third, one down. Fouls it off on the ground and evens it 1-1.
Do you wear contacts?
I do.
Do you really?
Mm-hmm. Have since I was in about 8th grade.
You know what you should do?
What's that?
You should get some like those cat eyes.
Like different colored?
Yeah,
ones?
they're like cat eyes. Contacts. Donnie the cat.
Do they work?
Yeah, they're just regular contacts. They just.
I don't think I can see past my nose without them.
Really? Are you as blind as a bat?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
So, like, in the middle of the night, if you got to get up and.
I have glasses.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was going to say, like, you send out sonar that bounces off walls.
No, I have glasses
So
that I wear in the morning and at night.
Hey, back in the day, remember umpires? I mean, there are umpires now that wear glasses, right? Back in the day, but it was like a big joke. An umpire. No, seriously.
Need glasses was always the.
Right.
Ball and 2 strikes here to Corey Spangenberg with 1 out, first and third. That's outside, 2-2. Going hard, 97 miles an hour, but off the mark. 20th pitch of the inning coming up here for John Gray. Padres trying to get on the board here, trailing 6-0. Batting in the top of the 4th inning.
Need an extra base hit right here.
Spansburg hanging tough here. Fouled off, still 2-2. Corey flat out to Charlie Blackmon in center field in the second inning. His first at bat against John Gray. Gray's next pitch will be the 60th of his outing. Ball 3, full count. Franchi Cordero waiting on deck here for the Padres. Cordero coming up today, activated today. Jose Valdez returned to El Paso, pitched here in last night's game. Popped up right side of the infield. LeMahieu got over the shoulder of Mark Reynolds there at first base. 2 down. That'll bring up Franchi Cordero with 2 down in the inning. First 2 reached for the Padres on singles by Myers and Sanchez. A strikeout of Blash, a pop out by Spangenberg, and it brings up Cordero. Strike 1. Second time this year Cordero has been recalled by the Padres. Sitting at 387 since June 30th in El Paso. This will get away, and taking second base will be Sanchez. So blocked by Hannigan, kind of kicked it up the first base line. No chance for Myers to score, but Sanchez breaks for second base, and he'll take second on the wild pitch.
Yeah, now what that does opens the door for the Padres to where a grounder, they can't go the short way to get out of the inning. That force at second base.
Blocked it with the right shin guard and kicked it up the first base line. Wild pitch. Swing and a miss for Cordero. Down 1-2.
John Gray breaking out the old number 2, the curveball on that one right there. Watch it out of the hand. Get up on top, the rotation there. 82 on the gun. Swung right over the top of it.
Swing and a miss. Cordero strikes out. Gray out of the jam enjoys a 6-0 lead after 3.5.
Talk about the third sacker of the hot corner, Nolan Arenado, the shortstop, the Gold Glover, diving. Visit San Francisco back on June 28th. Just when you think you're going to get a base hit by him, he knocks it down, fires from his backside, the extension there, and still gets the out at first base. Just goes to show you the range, the athleticism. He doesn't have to catch it cleanly. As long as he can get to it, he's probably going to make the play.
Nolan Arenado, what a great defensive player he is. Good offensive player as well. 2 for 2 in this game, driving in 2 runs. National League since 1976, third baseman. Nolan Arenado with 4 Gold Gloves. Scott Rowland with 8. Hall of Famer Mike Schmidt. Arenado 2 for 2 in the game, scored a run in the first.
The position in the Hall of Fame with the fewest members, third base.
Grounded foul towards the end of the Padres dugout. 2-1. Clayton Richard, 73 pitches deep into his outing.
Guess how many third basemen are in the baseball Hall?
I was just thinking that in my head. I don't know. I'm trying to think of the guys that have played in time that I've been doing this that were Hall of Fame. Wade Boggs.
Just take a guess.
I have no idea. Throw it out there.
What don't you understand about take a guess?
I don't even know where to begin.
16. 77 pitchers, 18 catchers, 23 first basemen, 21 second basemen, 24 shortstops, 22 left fielders, 24 center fielders, and 24 right fielders.
I wonder why that is.
Just goes to show you, I mean, how good you have to be at that position, right? To be in the Hall.
In the air to deep left field. Cordero going back, looking up, and it is gone. Long home run for Nolan Arenado, his 19th of the year, gives the Rockies a 7-0 lead.
You know what's amazing about that swing? It didn't even look like it was one of those out of your swing, out of your shoe swings. Was he out in front of a little bit? That went up towards the walkway in deep left field here at Coors Field. It's a 2-2 pitch. Oh, yeah, elevated middle in. You know, after second look, yeah, he was on that pretty well. Initially, I thought it kind of caught it out front a little bit, but he stayed back on that one nicely, and that was a very good aggressive swing from Arenado.
That one kind of slipped out of the hand of Clayton Richard. Let's see where this thing landed. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Up above that section and the beginning of the concourse.
I think it broke that lady's umbrella. Now, on a day like today, you need a parasol, not an umbrella. But an umbrella works the same way, right?
I think it's the same general concept, yeah.
Yeah, but different. Umbrella is different than a parasol.
Fouled off to the right, out of play.
Serves the same purpose.
Right.
Different objects, though. Parasol is strictly for the sun. It's more decorative.
Same size.
I'm sure there are variances of sizes. Now that's an umbrella. serves the same purpose.
Mark Reynolds strikes out. Second time he's done that in this game, and that's a third strikeout for Clayton Richard. One down here in the fourth inning. Bring up Ian Desmond.
In fact, you know, if our director, Zach Jensen, can find a parasol today somewhere at Coors Field, that's a good find.
Grounder slowly to the first baseman. Myers a flip over, and Richard there to cover the bag for out number 2. First, Clayton Richard went after that ball, then he realized it was not going to be feasible, so he goes and covers. Okay, so the tail of the tape of that home run for Arenado is 435 feet. Two down in the inning, and Parra now the open stance from the left side. In there for a strike.
I remember somebody told me once, left center field above the walkway, Mike Piazza hit one of those food places.
Above the walkway in left center field.
Yeah, like see where the scoreboard is? See where the Coors Light?
To the left of the woods?
To the left of the woods, like below that, I think it was around there. Near the extra sausage sign right there.
Look out. Pitch inside, and Parra spins out of the box. 2-1. Doesn't say extra sausage, it just says sausage. But I'm sure you could order extra sausage.
No doubt.
Richard falling behind 3-1.
Giancarlo Stanton has the record for the longest home run here at Coors Field, 502 feet.
Jammed and kind of bloops it out to right center field. Gerardo Parra is 3 for 3 in the ball game.
He broke his bat on that one. Boy, when you're swinging the bat well, they come in bunches. That's Clayton Richard getting in the kitchen. Listen to this one right here.
So runner first, 2 down. And it brings up Trevor Story, who is lined out to short. Triple to drive in a run and scored a run of his own. Strike one. Richard coming into today's game 5 and 9 individually with a 4.75 earned run average. 20th start of the year for the veteran left-hander. There is action for the first time in the Padres pen. Kevin Quackenbush is that action, the right-hander. Pitches for Clayton Richard so far in this game. Story hits one in the air to left field well. Cordero back at the wall, and that ball is gone. Second home run of the inning for the Colorado Rockies, and it's Trevor Story's 12th of the year. This one's a 2-run shot, and it puts the Rockies on top 9-0.
Curveball. See the knuckle curveball grip out of the hand, just kind of sweeps up there. Didn't really have a lot of depth to it. Right into the swing path. Catching it out front a little bit is Trevor Story, and he sends it on his way. That one hurts too because it was an 0-2 pitch.
Now Ryan Hannigan takes strike one. Got a base hit his last time up, single to center. 1 for 2 day for the Rockies catcher. Sprays it foul to the right and is down 0-2. Now the Rockies win the first 2 games of this series. Now have a 9-0 advantage here in the finale. Richard trying to get through the 4th inning here. Rockies have scored in every inning. 3 in the first, 1 in the second, 2 in the third, and 3 so far here in the 4th inning. Rockies out hitting the Padres in this game 12-3. Two to Hannigan. And a fly ball to center field. Margot started in. Now he's headed back. Still going. He won't get it. One hops up over the wall. It's a double for Ryan Hannigan with 2 down here in the 4th inning. First step there for Margot was in.
Well, Clayton Richard approaching 100 pitches. It's one of those innings where Andy Green, boy, you hope you get that last out. Hannigan broke in. Manuel Margot did, just out of his reach, and bounces over for a rule book double.
Now John Gray coming up. He will foul the first pitch off. We're talking about length of home runs. John Gray is at the plate right now. Had a 467-foot home run against the Reds. Longest home run for a pitcher since they've been keeping that statistic. Next pitch would be a hundo for Clayton Richard. On the ground up the middle into center field, a base hit for Gray. Hannigan coming around to score, and that'll make it an even 10. 10-0 Rockies. Well, Andy Green coming out here to make a double switch. As Ben May, the home plate umpire, joins him. That will be the day for Clayton Richard. John Gray with a base hit and an RBI. Rockies with a 10-0 advantage. So the pitching change with Kevin Quackenbush making his way in here from Coors Field in Denver, Colorado, where the Rockies have a 10-0 lead. Brought to you by Sequan Casino. Sign up for the Padres club card today. By Jerome's Furniture, where Jerry's price is the lowest price every day. And by the all-new 2017 Subaru Impreza. Subaru symmetrical all-wheel drive plus 28 miles per gallon. More than a car, it's a Subaru. Back in Denver, Colorado. Game 3 of the 3-game series between the Padres and Rockies. Double switch has Kevin Quackenbush now in the game for San Diego. Pitching change brought to you by El Cajon Ford.
Well, the 19th game for Kevin Quackenbush, and this is one of the things that as a player you got to keep your mind right. You got to go in there and act like it's a 0-0. It's a 10-0 deficit. Kevin Quackenbush trying to get that one last out here in the 4th and leave that runner out there.
Fly ball struck well to center field off the bat of Blackmon. Back, and that ball is gone.
Wow.
2-run home run for Charlie Blackmon. First pitch Kevin Quackenbush throws. Blackman's 23rd home run of the year. 12-0 Rockies.
Boy, vey. Not going to get away with 90 outer half to Charlie Blackmon.
DJ LeMahieu, 9th member of the Rockies to bat here in the inning. That home run, the 3rd hit of the day for Blackmon. 23rd home run of the year. 12-0 Rockies. LeMahieu fouls it off, evens the count of 1-1. So that closes the book on Clayton Richard. 3 2/3 innings, 14 hits, 11 runs. Walked 1, struck out 3. Right center, Margot to end the inning. But a big inning for the Rockies. They score 6 more, take a 12-0 lead. Makes a lot of money.
Oh, really?
So, yeah, you want to go ahead and place a bet.
You know, I'm not really the luckiest guy when it comes to betting. So I think I'm just going to keep the money in my wallet.
12-0. Rockies have the lead as John Gray returns to the mound, and Eric Ibar leads it off here in the top of the 5th inning.
But thanks, Michelle. Sounds like you're having a good time out there at Del Mar, and she's got a nice looking lid today.
Softly grounded down the first baseline. Gray's going to get it and take it to the bag himself for out number 1. Looked there for a second. He may flip to Reynolds, but elects to take it himself for the first out here of the 5th inning. A part of the double switch had Alan Cordoba taking over in left field defensively last inning for Franchi Cordero. So Cordoba coming up here to bat for the first time in the 9 spot. Sun has ducked back in behind the clouds here for the moment, which is a good thing on a 98-degree day.
Weather can change here very quickly.
Cordoba 242, 3 homers, 13 runs batted in. Coming off the bench more often than starting lately. And he fouls it off to the right out of play. Padres have 3 hits today, being out hit 15-3. Myers, Sanchez, and Clayton Richard with the hits. Bat goes flying down the 3rd baseline as Cordoba strikes out for out number 2. 5 strikeouts for John Gray, 2 down here in the 5th inning. Top of the order, Manuel Margot coming up. Walk in the 1st, lined out to second base in the 3rd. Strike 1. Line down the right field line, foul. Padres after the ball game heading to San Francisco to open up a 4-game series beginning tomorrow.
Hey, no more consecutive sellouts for the Gigantes.
Ended last night, huh? 590. Does that sound right to you? Something like that?
Yeah, that general area.
In the air to shallow right. Parra started back, now coming in, and he will dive to make the catch out there in right field. Robs Margot of a hit. Nice play by Parra. Padres retired in order in the 5th inning. A look here is Parra coming in to making the grab. John Gray, the pitcher, loves it.
Hey, MLB.tv every night, every device. Watch every out-of-market regular season game live, plus get a free subscription to At-Bat Premium, the #1 app for live baseball. Blackout and other restrictions apply. Visit MLB.tv for details.
That's on here to the bottom of the 5th inning. Kevin Quackenbush came on in the 4th, back out there to begin the bottom of the 5th inning. 12-0 Rockies. Arenado with a home run last inning. Alan Cordoba moving into the infield, so it is Caesar now in left field. Cordoba coming into shortstop. And Perella now at first base. So out of the game is Myers. Pitch is high. There's Perella now at first base. Myers getting the rest of the day off. Two-two pitch in the dirt for ball 3. Quackenbush first out of the pen today for the Padres.
Well, in a game like this, you need to keep guys fresh, right? To get at bats. So that's why Andy Green putting in those players.
Ooh, fouled back to the screen. Had a piece of the umpire on the way by. Home plate umpire Ben May today.
High slider fouled off the right side of the mask.
To right center field, struck pretty well back towards the bullpen, and that ball is going to be gone into the bullpen. Arenado homered in the 4th. He homers in the 5th, and the Rockies take a 13-0 lead. Four hits, 4 RBIs, 2 home runs for Nolan Arenado today.
This is unbelievable. Outer half and Arenado taking it the other way. The foot is down, the hands are back, and the head down. Great extension.
Four home runs today now for the Rockies. Trevor Story, Charlie Blackmon, 2 for Nolan Arenado. Second two-home run game for Arenado, 12th of his career. Reynolds 0 for 3. He's grounded out to second, struck out twice. Kind of frustrating for Mark Reynolds. Everybody else having a fun time today with 13 runs, 16 hits, and he's 0 for. Ian Desmond also does not have a hit, but at least he has an RBI, sacrifice fly back in the 1st inning.
Well, not everybody gets a trophy, Don.
Two for 10 in the series is Mark Reynolds. Broken bat grounder up the middle. To the backhand goes Ozwahe. Throw is in time. Ozwahe making the play there. 4-3 for the first out here, the bottom of the 5th. I feel like Quackenbush is going to go a ways here.
Yes, he's going to eat some innings. He's going to chew up some innings. And you know what? I mean, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to look at this game, but and see the possibilities which can happen. But there's been a couple of times when an emergency pitcher has come in, right?
That's right.
Longest outing for Kevin has been 2 innings. He's done it 6 times.
Quackenbush with a nice play, reaching back to make that grab, and throws to Pirela at first base to get Desmond. 1-3, 2 down. Nice play. Delivery taken to the first base side, just reach back to make the grab.
Well, Kevin's one of those pitchers where he's in pretty good fielding position, doesn't overthrow, enabling his body to fall off to the first base side, so he has enough time to reach across, to reach around and catch that one.
Parra to left.
In.
Caesar in. Makes the catch below the cap high that ends the inning. Home run by Arenado. 13-0 Rockies.
I think he sees the ball well, and that keeps him in the strike zone more often than not. And when you stay in the strike zone, then your skill set plays more frequently, and that's something he's done very well since he's been here. He's punched out probably more than he's accustomed to, but they've all mostly been in the strike zone punch outs, and they're swinging at good pitches, and that's part of it. That's part of the game.
Andy Green talking about his rookie second baseman, Carlos Asuaje, entering the ballgame hitting .315 at his first Major League home run last night. And as he mentioned, he's doing a great job of staying in the strike zone. And the other thing from Carlos's side, guys, is he says he's been much more patient. When he's guessing correctly on his pitch, he's not jumping at it. It's allowing him to put better swings on the ball.
Well, it's working for him right now. Asuaje has been very good. Popped out at second base and struck out today 0 for 2. But 5 for 12 in the series. 307 average. John Gray with pitch 75 of his outing. Plenty of run support today for Gray. Time now for the Arco top tier player profile. Take a look at Carlos Asuaje in the month of July. 15 of them. Pirela with 14, Ibar and Margot with 11. Spangenberg with 10.
Yeah, yesterday's game he pulled the ball his first at bat, hit the home run, pulling the baseball. And the game before that one went the other way 2 times. So using the whole field, short and quick to the baseball, feeling very comfortable. Good to see Lil Sweet doing well.
Asuaje taking the strike, didn't like it, and it evens at 2-2. Fouled off, stays alive here, 2-2. Outfield about straight away. Blackman, center fielder, step or two towards right center. Gray with 5 strikeouts on the day. Foul back to the screen. Set it down to Bob again. Bob.
You know, Don, we were talking to Carlos about some of the adjustments that he's made, and one of the things he said he's done differently is he's actually starting his body a little bit sooner, which allows him to let the ball go deeper, and it's why he's been able to be more patient on those pitches that are actually in the strike zone. So counterintuitive that you actually start sooner to let the ball go deeper and be more patient, but that's what's been working for him so far.
Let the ball travel a little bit. 80th pitch. Oh, that one almost hit him.
You know, it's all about not putting yourself in a position where you have to rush to get to the ball. And at first he said, I was trying to let the ball go deeper, but I was starting later, and then I found myself rushing. So he started things sooner, and all of a sudden, everything slowed down.
Now he lines this one into center field for a base hit.
Well, got a fastball here from John Gray. Take a look. Foot is down, hands are back, and it's just going to hack in there, throwing the head. That's the exact kind of swing you want to see on a fastball in, and he fights that one off straight away to center field.
Yeah, and the way that he stays back and keeps his head nice and steady, and what he was saying is earlier he was guessing correctly, hey, here's the fastball, and then he would lunge out to try to get it because he was just so excited that he guessed correctly, but good patience on that one.
Jose Pirela batting for the first time, took over at first base for Will Myers. 279, 4 homers, 16 runs batted in.
You know, the home run's been the theme today. Wouldn't you say so? For the
I would
Rockies?
say so, yeah, 4 of them.
Talking about over the course of Major League history here, and this has been documented, but we're talking about June 2017, 1,101 home runs hit in the month of June, all-time record. In May 2017, 1,060, all-time record in the month of May.
Pirela strikes out. That's 6 strikeouts now for Pirela. So 1 out, 1 on, and it'll bring up Hector Sanchez.
It's unbelievable.
What's your point?
A lot of home runs.
A lot of home runs.
May 2000, 1,069. May 2017, 1,060. So 9 behind.
So May's not an all-time record.
No, it's just that it was close too. Unbelievable.
Hector Sanchez threw the shift on the right side into right center. His second hit of the day. And there are runners at first and second now for San Diego here in the 6th inning.
UFC Fight Night comes to Fox with a mega matchup between Chris Weidman and Kelvin Gastelum. Plus, Dennis Bermudez takes on Darren Elkins. For the love of Pete. UFC Fight Night Saturday. Going to be a fight here in the booth pretty soon. Saturday, 3 p.m. Pacific on Fox. Those are pictures of Knott Orsillo. Of those guys.
2 on 1 away for Jabari Blash. Blash walked in the 2nd inning, struck out looking in the 4th inning. That's supposed to punch me. Ow. Suaje at second, Sanchez at first.
That's paint right there at 96. John Gray still has the velocity.
Oh no, you have one of those rags.
It's hot.
Oh no. I thought we got rid of all the rags.
It's hot here today.
One to Jabari Blash. Pitch 88 for John Gray. In the dirt. 2-1. The Blacks Rockies winning the first 2 games of the series, have a 13-0 lead here in game 3.
Former manager of the Miami Marlins to his left. On the right there, Mike Redmond. To Buddy's left, our right.
Broken bat, foul ball, back to the backstop. Split. Second bat that Blash has broken today. John Gray, 6 strikeouts in the game, has walked 2. So far allowed 5 hits and no runs. Padres have left 4 men on base through the first 5 innings. Foul back the screen, still 2-2.
Now that's the pitch Jabari Blash has got to drive to right center field, and I think by his reaction after that foul ball, he missed one. Big, strong kid. Take a look at this pitch from John Gray. 4-seamer up and away, just working underneath it a little bit. I think the intention of Jabari was there.
On the ground, foul outside of third base. Hangs here at 2-2. Inning started with Carlos Asuaje singling to center field. Morello struck out swinging. Hector Sanchez singled to center. So runners at first and second with 1 down here in the top of the 6th inning. 2-2 to Jabari Blash. Line to center field and a base hit for Blash. They are waving around as Asuaje. Throw will go to third, and the Padres are on the board. 13-1. The Rockies have the lead, but San Diego able to get their first run on an RBI single by Jabari Blash. First run that John Gray has allowed today.
A lot of foul balls, and this is a cut fastball that Jabari, good plate coverage, going down and getting that one. Oh, the toe tap, bringing his leg back and firing it forward.
So 2 on, 1 out, and it brings up Corey Spangenberg. 0 for 2 today. He's flied out to center, popped out to second base. Fly ball hit it out towards center field pretty deep. Back goes Blackman at the wall. That ball is gone. A 3-run home run. Corey Spangenberg. Padres now with 4 runs. They get 4 quick ones here in the 6th inning. Spangenberg with his 7th home run of the year. And it's now 13-4. So here come the Padres.
First pitch hacking, Corey Spangenberg. You get it up. You square it up. There's a 4-seamer, and that's exactly what Corey did. He went to center field at Petco Park recently, and here in Colorado, yes, Luis Perdomo likes it.
Now Kevin Quackenbush batting for himself here. Still just 1 out here in the 6th inning. The end of the bat foul into the Rockies dugout. Corey Spangenberg with a 3-run home run. First time Quackenbush has hit in the major leagues. And he'll strike out in that first plate appearance. 7 strikeouts now for John Gray, 2 down in the inning. The day after the Padres score 5 or more runs, get 50% off any regular menu price online order at papajohns.com. Enter promo code Padres5. Now for Spangenberg, home run number 7 of the year. Still a lot of work to do here for the Padres. They trailed the one time 13-0. That's Caesar batting for the first time. That was the 25th pitch of the inning. Oh, 1-2 the count here to Matt Caesar with 2 down in the 6th inning. Got the bare hand that time, it looked like, of Ryan Hannigan. A little professional courtesy by Ben May, cleaning off the plate, giving him a little extra time.
Oh, yeah, looks like he got his finger in the way there. That'll hurt.
I think it's still kind of looking at it, still painful. 2 outs, bases empty here for Caesar. Straightens him up with a pitch in. 4 hits in the inning, 4 runs in the inning. Big blast, 3-run shot by Corey Spangenberg. Caesar to left, and Ian Desmond's out there. Makes the catch. That ends the inning, but the Padres get 4 in the 6th inning. Rockies have a 13-4 lead. All right, thanks very much, Michelle. Here at Coors Field, the Padres put together 4 runs in the top half of the 6th inning. Trail 13-4. More Kevin Quackenbush as we move on to the bottom of the 6th inning. Trevor Story leading it off here. Quackenbush came on in the 4th inning, pitched the 5th. And back out there for the 6th inning. Logged some innings. Starter today for the Padres, Clayton Richard, on the hook in this game. Went 3 2/3. He was charged with 11 of the runs. Fouled off to the right, out of play. Story has one of the 4 home runs today. This was back in the 4th inning. Swinging a foul, gets a piece of Hector Sanchez.
Guys, if the catcher's been getting beat up a lot this year.
Seems like it. Last couple of innings.
Yes.
With Ryan Hannigan and Hector Sanchez.
Sanchez wants this one down in the dirt. Speaking of catching, I'm going back a ways here. I remember one of the first catchers to start putting his hand behind his right leg catching. Do you remember who that was?
No.
Johnny Bench. Because remember, you look at the old days, guys were catching, they always had their hand up near the glove, right?
Yeah. That's where Hector just had it. There's ball 4, leadoff walk for Trevor Story.
And then along comes Johnny Bench, and you know he's given the target just with his glove. The throwing hand is behind his right knee, being protected, and he was good enough to where he could catch it, transfer, bang, throw him out. And then you see more and more as time went on, catchers doing just that.
I think it'd be safer to do that. Yeah. You separate the hands to catch the ball and you get that foul tip. This is through the right side into right field, a base hit for Hannigan. Up to second base goes Story, and the first 2 Rockies have reached here in the 6th inning.
I remember growing up as a kid and my dad teaching me the game of baseball, and I remember talking about catching, and because he was a catcher, he never played professionally, but he told me that catchers should make a fist like this but insert their thumb there if they're going to be catching like this, because you don't want to get a foul. If you're going to get a foul ball off your fingers, you want to make, you don't want to have a digit out like this to where it'll break, and you protect your thumb. With Johnny Bench, he put that behind his leg here and caught one-handed, which was unconventional. Remember in the old days, guys would catch like this, and they'd scoop the ball like this. It doesn't happen anymore.
No, dangerous.
So that's just one way that catchers could protect the hand, the throwing hand.
2 on, nobody out, and the pitcher's spot comes up here, and Alexi Amarista pinch hitting. Had to start at third base last night, the former Padre. It was 57th game of the Rockies this year. 261 average, plays all over, infield, outfield, and as mentioned last night, get the start at third for Nolan Arenado. High strike call, 1-1, so that's a day for John Gray. Things were terrific until he got into the 6th inning. Threw 29 pitches in that inning, gave up 4 runs. Still looking at his 3rd win of the year right now as he departs after 6 innings. Pitch 30 coming up here for Kevin Quackenbush. Story at second, Hannigan at first. Amarista gets jammed and pops it up foul off to the left, out of play. 2 on, nobody out. Swing and a miss, and Amarista got a foul tip there. Held onto by Hector Sanchez. So the strikeout for Quackenbush is first, and that's first out here in the 6th inning. Well, Charlie Blackmon, 3 hits, including a home run today. His 23rd home run of the year. This one out to right center field. And a home run in game 1 of the series on Feliz Perdomo. 7 for 11 in the series is Charlie Blackmon. Line foul down the right field line.
Deserves a Slurpee after a series like that, huh?
Yeah, I would say so. Strike 2. Outfield deep and straight away. Has got power to all fields. That home run, his 23rd of the year. 67 runs driven in now. And a high fly ball down the right field line towards the corner and the pole, and it will be a foul ball. Off the wall and out of the reach of Jabari Blash down there in the corner.
Curveball down and in. Now the race is on as Charlie Blackmon grabs his left hamstring after that swing.
Blash unable to make the catch, banged up against the wall, and now they're out there checking on Blackmon, who did grab at that hamstring right after that last swing, and now trying to stretch it out.
What do you think in a game like this? You think Bud Black's trying to maybe get one more inning out of Charlie Blackmon than
2 pitchers before this line drive foul ball? Felt something then.
Yep.
And 2 pitches later, that foul fly down the right field line, grabbing at it again.
So a couple questions here. 13-4, right? Do you take why not take Blackmon out?
Yeah, I don't get it.
Unless it's Coors Field, and we know that you can drop an 8 spot with with the drop of a hat.
Well, negotiation going on here, it appears.
There's got to be a clock on something like this too. You get a minute to decide, and after a minute you don't decide, guess what? You're out of the game. This is just way too long. You agree?
Yeah, I would agree.
I mean,
Bud Black's taking him out of this game. So, really, Charlie Blackmon wanted to stay in, but he is not staying in here. Down on the count 0-2, he will depart. So now they got to find somebody else to hit for him here. Taking a long time. Lakers going to pinch hit. Came into the game last night and the first night as well. So Pat Valleca here will finish the at bat. Count is 0-2. 239 average, 7 homers, 22 runs batted in. Two on, 1 out, and Valleca On the ground up the middle into center field, a base hit. Trevor Story coming around with the 14th Rockies run of the day. So 2 strikes on him, goes up there hacking. And a base hit back up the middle into center field.
Well, you know, I think in that situation it's a win-win for Valaika, right? Because if he punches out, it goes against Blackman, right? He's got 2 strikes on him.
Yep.
Another 2-strike pitch, it just catches too much of the plate. Valaika goes out there and gets it and serves to center field. Credit Valaika with a base hit.
So 2 on, and with 1 out, it brings up DJ LeMahieu. Grounds it up the middle. The shortstop Cordoba will flip to second base, and they get the force out there. So 6-4 on the force out of Valaika. As Hannigan will take third base, LeMahieu reaches at first on the fielder's choice. And bring up Nolan Arenado. Arenado singled in the first, singled in the second, homered in the 4th inning, homered in the 5th inning. High drive, deep left field.
Really?
And gone. 3rd home run of the day for Nolan Arenado. This one is a 3-run shot, and this one will put the Rockies on top 17-4.
Well, you cannot get away throwing a ball middle in to Arenado like that one. He's going to do some serious damage. All right, Kevin Quackenbush just has not found the release point today, and the Rockies are making him pay.
First 3-home run game for Nolan Arenado of his career. First 5-hit game of his career. He's got a chance for more. We're in the 6th inning. (17-4) Rockies. Mark Reynolds batting with a count of 1-1. Popped up foul, backing out of play. Reynolds 0 for 4 in this game. He's grounded out, struck out twice, and grounded out again. Wild swing and a miss. Gets away from Sanchez. Got to throw out Reynolds. And a low throw, but Perella able to dig it out and end the inning on the strikeout. Arenado with a home run. 17-4 Rockies. Summary, and it started early. Nolan Arenado and the Rockies, you would drive in a run in that first inning, a 3-run first. Then Trevor Story, the first of 5 home runs on the day for the Rockies. A Story to left field on that home run, and then Arenado with his second home run of 3 today. And then the third one, Arenado to the left field corner. 3 home run day for Arenado, who now has 21 home runs on the year. His first 3 home run game of his career. And here's some of the numbers today. Clayton Richard, 3 2/3, charged with 11 earned runs. John Gray leaves after 6 innings, giving up 4 earned runs. They all came in his last inning of work in the 6th. Arenado with 7 RBIs in this game, 5 for 5, and Gerardo Parra continues to be hot too, 3 for 4. As we play along to the 7th inning. Jairo Diaz has come into the game for the Rockies now after Gray pitched the first 6 innings. And his first pitch is down and in for ball 1 to Cordoba. Second appearance for Diaz. Blackman coming out of the game. What appeared to be a hamstring issue. Let's see, Amarista has moved into center field for Blackman. Pat Valleca pinch hit and finished off that at bat for Blackman with 2 strikes. Ended up singling and driving in a run. He ends up at second base. (3-1) and a foul fly down the right field line, out of play. Full count.
You know, Don, we talk about Major League Baseball records, and part of the history, we talk about perfect games, no hitters, cycles. Well, if you look at the line score through 6 innings, the Rockies have put up at least 1 run in each frame. Very rarely does it happen where a team scores at least 1 run in each frame. And with the Rockies being at home, of course, if it stays like this, they'd only go 8, right? Unofficially, 19 times teams have scored in every inning. Milwaukee, 2016 versus the Braves. Tigers, 2014 versus Colorado. And to put that in perspective, there's been 21 perfect games in Major League Baseball. So it's a rarity.
We got 3 in the first, 1 in the second, 2 in the third, 6 in the fourth, 1 in the 5th, and 4 in the 6th inning. Well, Margot takes a 99-mile-an-hour fastball for ball 1. Walked in the first, lined out in the third, flied out to right in the 5th. John Gray, the starter for the Rockies, 6 innings, 4 runs, walked 2, struck out 7. Margot now, Swahe next as Margot takes the strike. He was headed towards first base, but got the bad news from Ben May. Home plate umpire, 3-1. Strike 2. Battling back is Diaz.
Pretty straight fastball from Diaz at 96-97. Margot has had a good look at the right-hander's stuff. See if he throws here the payoff pitch.
Line to center, Amarista coming in, but that's going to be a base hit in front of him. So a 1-out single for Manuel Margot. His first hit of the day.
You know, one of the things I like about this scoreboard here in Colorado, especially a game like today, you see the changes both sides. There's been a lot of changes today. Lineup, positioning, up there all the time. I like that. How about you, Don?
Yeah, I like it too. They do that in Arizona also.
Yeah.
Helps us out.
Got that right.
Swahe with a swing and a miss.
You mentioned Manuel Margot with that base knock, his first win of the day. But you know what, though? You look at his 4 plate appearances today. He drew a walk to lead off the game, right? Remember, he hit the ball hard to second base. LeMahieu leaped and caught that line drive.
Yep.
And then remember that nice play in right field. Parra made, taking away. So, you know, he theoretically could have been on base all 4 times today. Putting the ball in play and hitting the ball hard, just got robbed on a couple of plays. And of course, I half picked the stick today, so that's why I'm praising Manuel Margot.
In the dirt. And it's a ball, 2 strikes here to Swahe.
Well, prior to today's outing for Diaz, only 1 appearance this year was against the Giants. 1 inning, 4 hits, 3 runs. So this is a perfect opportunity for Bud Black to get the right-hander out there, get some work.
On the ground, he's able to nab it. Throws low to second, nicely picked on to first, double play. Bad throw by Diaz, but he was bailed out at second base. Turns into a double play that ends this top of the 7th inning. 17-4 Rockies. Seventh inning stretch presented by your San Diego Hyundai dealers. Diaz able to make the play last inning. The double play starts it. Bad throw to second base, but dug out by his shortstop coming across. Trevor Story, very fortunate.
Boy, Howard Diaz, he just put his leather out there. The ball found him, and then saved an error for the Rocky pitcher by picking that one. Trevor Story.
So it's on to the last of the 7th inning. Ian Desmond going to lead it off against a new pitcher, Jose Torres, into the game now for San Diego. Quackenbush ended up going 2 1/3. He gave up 6 runs in 2 1/3 innings. Walked 1, struck out 2. And now Torres to deal with Ian Desmond. 41st appearance for Torres.
Last time out was just yesterday for Torres. Went a couple frames, 3 hits, give him a couple runs. He did strike out 3, so a chance to go out there and bounce back to-back days.
Foul fly down the right field line, headed towards the seats. No play for Perella. Desmond with that sacrifice fly back in the first inning. Since then, 3 groundouts. A part of this 19-hit attack for the Rockies today. 19 hits, 17 runs. Ball 4, and in Torres walks Ian Desmond to begin things here in the bottom of the 7th inning.
This copyrighted telecast is presented by the authority of the San Diego Padres and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. The accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the San Diego Padres.
Lead runner on in the 7th, and it brings up Gerardo Parra, who's had a 3-hit game for the Rockies. All singles. He's scored twice in the game. Strike 1. Parra now, Story next. Rockies batting here in the home half of the 7th inning. And they've scored in every inning so far as they bat here in the 7th. Not yet. Oh, really fooled him 0-2. On the ground right side and through into right field, a base hit. Ian Desmond takes second on the single by Parra. First 2 have reached here in the 7th inning. It's time now for the Bill Howe plays of the game. And the Rockies putting together 5 home runs in this game. Nolan Arenado with 3. Charlie Blackmon had 1, and Trevor Story also with 1. Arenado with his 3rd. All part of a 17-run attack on 20 hits now for Colorado. Runners at first and second, nobody out, and Trevor Story coming up. Some ominous looking clouds have made their way over here from the left.
You checked the forecast lately?
I have not. Bright sunshine here for a lot of the day, but not anymore. Fouled back to the screen for strike 1.
Oh, about 30% chance of some thunderstorms around 7 o'clock. So I think we're in the clear. 97 degrees, it says right now here in Denver.
Oh, 1 to Trevor Story with 2 on, nobody out. And Tardy on the 96-mile-an-hour fastball. Up high, and it's 1-2. in the dirt, 2-2. The most home runs at Coors Field. Rockies with 7 in their history. May 31st, 2016 against Cincinnati. San Francisco hit 7 here July 2nd of 2002 against the Rockies. Rockies today with 5. 2-2. On the ground towards third base. That'll lead up Spangenberg. Knocks it down, but that was hard hit. We'll see. So Story reaches. Base is now loaded. We'll see here on a tough hop.
Well, I think it's a play that's got to be made.
It's a base hit for Trevor Story with the scorer rules.
It was kind of hit hard. Kind of backed up on anticipating the bigger hop.
So bases filled here with Rockies now. Ryan Hannigan has 3 hits today.
And of course the hometown scorer is probably going to give him a hit, right?
I'd like to believe he's subjective, objective. One of those. Career 407 average for Ryan Hannigan with the bases loaded. Desmond at third, Parra at second, Story at first. Rockies trying to make it 7 straight innings in which they have scored at least 1 run. A long day for Andy Green. In the air to center. Margot will have room as he makes the catch. Tagging at third is Desmond. It's a sac fly for Hannigan, and the Rockies have indeed scored in the first 7 innings of this game at least 1 run and make it 18-4 with that run.
You know, he hit that ball off the end of the bat and it still went a long way towards the track.
Second RBI today for Hannigan.
So that leads me up to my next question, Cha-Cha, as we take a look here at Torres. 4-seamer down. Actually, you know what? That was more down towards the label. Yeah, I stand corrected. Got in on him a little bit, and the ball still traveled well. Don Orsillo, I ask you, I'm throwing batting practice to you here at Coors Field, and I'm just lobbing it in there, you know, a little firm. What's your best bolt here at Coors Field? How far are you hitting it?
Not very. No, I don't think very. I don't like it here as far as hitting here. I don't like the backdrop. So
you don't like the batter's eye?
No, the forest would bother me, I think.
Really?
Yeah. Some of the best power, even though it is Coors Field, probably wouldn't be here. I'm not facing you in BP anyway, because I know you're going to hit me in the ribs. First
so
pitch.
you don't like this backdrop
Nope.
here.
Too much going on. It's like batting in the woods, middle of the forest.
If you get a base hit in the woods, is it still a base hit?
I think so. No, it's beautiful. I think coming here as an announcer, I think it's outstanding. It's beautiful, but I wouldn't want to hit with that stuff going on in the back. The rivers, trees.
Well, it seems like hitters, not only Rocky hitters, but other opposing, they don't have a problem with it.
No, they don't. I do. Crowd has thinned out here as the game has gone along. Still lots of baseball left.
You know, one of my favorite moments here at Coors Field was, remember Odrisamer Despaigne?
Yeah.
He was in the bullpen. So everybody's concentrating on pitcher-hitter matchup in the game. All of a sudden, the umpire behind home plate yells, time. Nobody knows what's going on. Time. He kind of motions out towards center field. Odrisamer Despaigne. He's just wandering aimlessly
in the woods
throughout the forest. He's just taking it all in. Oh, isn't that a lovely evergreen?
You can get lost out there.
Isn't that a nice stream? Aren't those rocks pretty? Just kind of taking it all in. They finally got his attention. He's like, oh, okay, my bad. Went back to the bullpen.
Alexi Amarista batting here, second time. And he sends one to center. Margot will make the catch for out number 2. So Parra back to second, Story back to first, 2 down. Bring up the top of the order now. Pat Valleca took over for Charlie Blackmon, who left with what appeared to be a hamstring problem. He's grabbing at the back of his leg on 2 occasions in his final at bat. He's replaced in the middle of the at bat. His count was 0-2, and Valleca came up and had a base hit back up the middle into center field and drove in a run. Short right, Blash coming in, and Jabari will make the running catch. It ends the inning. The Rockies keep the string going. They get another run. Lead at 18-4. Arenado with a huge day today. The 5 hits, the 3 home runs, and his team out to an 18-4 lead as we head here to the 8th inning, and Jose Pirela leads it off his second at bat. Pirela struck out swinging in the 6th inning, took over for Will Myers at first base. Padres did not get on the board until the 6th inning. It's 13-0 when the Padres scored 4 times in the 6th. Rockies have scored in every inning so far through the first 7, at least 1 run. Last time the Rockies had a hitter hit 3 home runs in a game, Carlos Gonzalez did it May 30th of 2012 against Houston. Last time they had 21 hits in a game. You got to go back to September 14th of 2014 against the Dodgers. This one grounded foul. They have 18 runs, 21 hits. Padres with 4 runs on 8 hits. Hector Sanchez waiting on deck. Foul back to the screen. We'll do it again. 3-2.
Did you do anything exciting while we were here in Denver?
No. You?
I slept a lot.
That's good.
Yeah.
Ooh. That one get in on the kitchen. Grounded softly. Here comes Arenado. No play. Infield hit for Perella. I remind you to join us tomorrow. Game 1 of the 4-game series between the Padres and the Giants. Jhoulys Chacin, 8-7, matched up against Madison Bumgarner. 0-3 on the year, and last face the Padres at Petco Park in San Diego. We'll get you started at 6:30 with Padres Live, and then it's the Padres and Giants. Game 1 of the 4-game series from AT&T Park in San Francisco. Base hit to begin the top of the 8th inning for Jose Perella. Brings up Hector Sanchez. Rockies in a shift on the right side of the infield, and there is strike 1. Jairo Diaz back out there for his 2nd inning of relief. It's the 7th inning. Grounder foul. Revisit the keys to the game brought to you by your San Diego Honda dealers.
Well, roll with Richard. 6 groundouts in 3 2/3. Bad day for Gray. Actually, you got a lot of support in those 6 innings. 7 hits surrendered, 4 earned runs, and he struck out 7 Padres this afternoon. So I'll give myself a big fat F. Fail.
Played Richard today, 3 2/3, 14 hits. 11 runs, a walk, and 3 strikeouts. He is on the hook for this one. Came in at 5-9 on the year. Hector Sanchez with a new bat in hand. Down in the count, 0-2. In the air to left field, sending Desmond back, still going onto the track to make the catch. Right in front of the 390 marker out there in left field. So Sanchez gives it a ride, but he's out number 1 of the 8th inning.
Well, the way the ball's been traveling this afternoon, I thought this ball had a chance. It was a ball up in the zone, though. Did you see that from Diaz? And then Hector just couldn't get enough top hand on it. Worked under it just a little bit too much. Whew. It's one of those as a pitcher, right? Oof.
1 on, 1 out, and it brings up Jabari Blash. Walked in the 2nd, struck out in the 4th, singled and scored in the 6th inning.
Hundo on the fastball.
Blash with a single in the 6th, able to drive in a run. In the dirt, and it's 1-1. Well, velocity is certainly there for Diaz, but as you said, the fastball pretty straight.
What do we preach all the time? Fastball command. Trying to go down and away to Jabari Blash. Is that by design, or can he not hit his spots? That's where Hannigan's set up. There's a nice pitch there. Little slider at 87, 88.
Two and two.
You think nicknames in baseball are pretty cool, right? For this kid, what do you think his nickname should be? You know what nickname I'd give him? Glyphics. Hieroglyphics. Was that a courtesy laugh? Or
Ball three, yeah, that was. I really didn't think it was
Okay,
that
don't
funny.
patronize me, all right? If you don't think it's funny, you can say so.
Normally, I just don't say anything, and then I just let it go.
That's fine.
And then, but this one, I felt like I had to give the.
But don't courtesy laugh me, all right?
You know, something.
A lot of walks in this kid's career in the minor leagues. That's been his report card throughout his minor league career.
Now the Giants preview. You get Buster Posey this season against the Padres, hitting at .393. Brandon Belt last 10 games at .351. 14 of the last 19 games against the Padres for the Giants. And Padres played very well against San Francisco and hope to do the same coming up here in the 4-game series.
Got to turn it around against the Padres, hopefully.
2 on, 1 out. Corey Spangenberg on the ground into right field for a base hit. And stopping at third base is Perella. So the base is loaded, and Spangenberg with his second hit of the day. So base is filled with Padres now with 1 out. Luis Torrens going to pinch it here in the pitcher's spot. Torrens got the start yesterday. And coming off the bench today, getting into his 37th game of the year. Center fielder Amarista over towards right center. Gap out there in left center. Luis Torrens batting with the bases loaded. 1 down here in the 8th. Jairo Diaz, second inning of relief. He's gone an inning and a third so far. Fouled off to the right, out of play. Evens at 2 and 2. Seen Diaz anywhere from 97 to 100. John Gray started this game for the Rockies, pitcher of record, going the first 6 innings. 7 hits, 4 runs, walked 2, struck out 7. Bud Black, who is trying to sweep the Padres here in this 3-game series in Colorado. Fouls it off, stays alive. Giants are playing day baseball today too. They're hosting the Cleveland Indians. The 8th inning with the Indians on top 3-2 of the Giants today. Preparation of the arrival of the Padres. 2-2 pitch on the ground and picked at first base. To second for one, to first with a pitcher. Diaz covering in time. 3-6-1 on the DP that ends the inning. Well, Nolan Arenado will be coming up. He already has 3 home runs and 5 hits on the day. Scheduled about second when we come back. Baseball brought to you by Petco, where the pets go. And by Nissan. Choose Nissan today for great offers on our most exciting lineup. Shop at choosenissan.com. Welcome back to the Rockies and Denver, Colorado. 18-4. Rockies have the lead over the Padres as we head to the last of the 8th inning. Rockies have scored in every inning so far in this game. And the Padres moving on to their 4th pitcher of the day. Kirby Yates comes in.
Well, Kirby Yates pitched on Monday against these Colorado Rockies. His 33rd game in overall, all told. Good stint with the San Diego Padres. They'll try to shut down these Rockies. As Don mentioned, they've scored at least 1 run in each of the first 7 stanzas this afternoon.
Tony Walter is going to lead it off here. Started the first 2 games as the catcher for the Rockies, pinch hitting here. The 8th inning in game 3. San Diego native takes pitch up high. Series of changes defensively for the Padres. Torrens stays in the game, doing the catching now. Barry Blash coming out of the game as moving from behind the dish to first base is Hector Sanchez. Perella goes from first to left field, and moving from left field to right field is Matt Caesars. Not sure what Jabari did. He hurt himself on that fly ball that he landed up against the wall on in right field. Not sure. But he comes out of the game. Kirby Yates, the new pitcher, working here in the bottom of the 8th inning. Falling behind 2-1 to Tony Walters with Nolan Arenado waiting on deck. Five hits, 3 home runs today for Arenado. All part of this 18-4 lead for the Rockies. Swing and a miss for Walters. Full count. Inside, and Walters did not get hit. I don't know how it missed him.
Hit the knob of the bat or the barrel?
Guess he got the bat.
Yep. Barrel on the backside.
Payoff pitch again. And a swing and a miss. Walters strikes out of the 93-mile-an-hour fastball for the first out here of the 8th inning. It's time now for the Carlos Jr. star of the game. And Nolan Arenado is that guy. 5 hits, including 3 home runs. 7 RBIs on the day for Arenado. And the last one off Quackenbush down the left field line over the 347 marker.
If you had Nolan Arenado today and picked the stick, you just gained 25 points.
Wow. That's a game changer. Arenado batting here in the 8th inning. Will take ball 1. 95 on the fastball up. Scooter Gennett had 4 home runs earlier this year for the Reds. Josh Hamilton, 2012. Carlos Delgado. Swinging for the downs there, but the fastball by him evens it count at 1-1. Inside, fastball again. 2-1. Popped up, foul ground off to the right. That'll get out of play and even the count at 2-2. Walters struck out to begin the inning. Arenado with 5 hits today. This fan maybe looking at a 4th home run. Was hoping for. 2-2. Ball 3, full count.
Challenge with a good fastball down and away right here.
Arenado to left field. In comes Perella, and he'll make the catch for out number 2. Well, they found a way to retire Arenado today, and the Rockies fans will salute him as he comes off. 5 for 5, 3 home runs. Lines out this time. 2 down in the 8th. Brings up Mark Reynolds. Now the Rockies have 18 runs on 21 hits, and Reynolds has not been a part of the party today. He is 0 for 5 with 3 strikeouts.
Well, sometimes you're the windshield, sometimes you're the bug, right?
Brewers did it 2016 in August. 11-3 win against the Braves. Popped up. Foul ground. Sanchez over by the dugout. No play.
And a nice grab by that fan behind the Rockies dugout. Used his hat to make the catch. You can't beat fun. Hey now, can't beat fun at the old ballpark. He's got his hat there. He makes the catch. That's a clean catch.
To the backstop, 2-1. Kirby Yates trying to record the first scoreless inning for any of the Padres pitchers today. With 2 down in the 8th. Grounder back to the mound, and Yates will flip to first base for the out. A 1-2-3 inning. We head for the 9th, 18-4 Rockies.
Today we're going to have Will Myers come up. We're going to throw him into an F-18 sim. He's going to show us what he's got. Go ahead and salute with your right hand, and then you grab right here on the towel rack. Shane, we're ready for takeoff. Kind of look up over your left wing, and that's back where Petco Park is going to be.
That was one of the coolest things I've ever done. Cool. I'm not kidding.
Friday in Padres POV presented by Nissan. We fly high with Will Myers in an F-18 simulator up at Miramar. Tune in Friday after Padres Live.
18-4, Rockies have the lead over the Padres. We head to inning number 9. New pitcher on for the Rockies, Adam Ottavino. Second appearance of the series. Dealing with Matt Caesar. Ottavino into his 39th game of the year. Lefty's hitting at 244, righty's hitting at 244. Second AB today for Caesar, lined out to left field in the 6th inning. Diaz leaves after 2 innings, 3 hits, no runs. Walked a batter, did not strike anybody out. Pitcher of record, John Gray. Starter who came in at 2-1. 6 innings, allowing 4 runs. Pitched 5 shutout innings before giving up the 4 runs in the 6th inning. It was the last inning he worked, and then Diaz for 2, and now Ottavino.
Well, Ottavino throws across his body. You can clearly see that. And then that sweeping breaking ball. It almost has the illusion as if that ball's starting behind the hitter and then ending up on the other side of the plate. Goes from the extreme third base side of the pitcher's plate, and then watch where he lands. His foot way over towards the third base line.
Well, Caesar earns a walk here to begin things in the 9th inning. 4th walk given up by Rockies pitching in the game. Leadoff walk here in the 9th inning. Last thing he wants to do here with an 18-4 lead.
You think?
But Black cannot be pleased with that.
Adam Ottavino has given up 13 runs and 5 homers in his last 6 appearances. Ouch, man.
Alan Cordoba, 0 for 2, has struck out and grounded out. Popped up right side of the infield. Well, staggered here by Reynolds, but he'll make the catch for the first out of the inning. Actually, it's Valeka, first base. Valeka has moved to first. So 1 down in the 9th. And Well Margot has walked, lined out, flied out, and singled. And to take strike 1 from Ottavino. Padres have 10 hits today, 4 runs. Corey Spangenberg with 2 hits and 3 RBIs, had a 3-run home run back in the 6th inning. Padres trailed 13-0 before scoring their first 4 runs in the 6th inning. But now trail 18-4 as they bat with 1 out in the 9th.
So did you pick the stick today?
I don't know.
You had Spangenberg, right?
Yes. How many points am I looking at?
6, 7, 8, 9.
Skips in, ball 3.
9-point day for Donnie.
Payoff pitch here to Manuel Margot. To shortstop, to second for 1, on to first for 2, double play. Ends the ball game. Long day for the Padres as the Rockies sweep the San Diego Padres. Big day for Nolan Arenado, 5 for 6 in the game, 3 home runs. Final score again, 18-4 Rockies. Padres Live is next. Mike Pomerantz, what's in store?